Today is January 16th, and believe it or not, today I am planting some trees. Winter is the perfect time to plant some trees. But you're gonna need special type of trees in order to plant right now. In order to plant trees right now, you need something called a bare root tree. This is a tree that has been grown by a nursery and it has been dug out, and now it's just the roots. And it's in its dormant stage, so it is dormant and it's gone to sleep for the winter months, and now it's the perfect time to put into the ground if you live in around Zone 7. In October of 2022, I placed an order from Willie's Orchard. I have been getting a lot of my trees from them because they are very reliable and their prices are pretty affordable. So I definitely recommend Willie's Orchard if you are thinking about getting some fruit trees. Willie's Orchard is not sponsoring this video, but if you have an orchard and you would like to sponsor my videos and send me some free trees, I am all for it. I live in Zone 7A, Northern Virginia, and I'm trying to build a food forest here. You can see right over here, I have about 7 fruit trees in a line, and now I want to create my second line of trees right next to it. So I'm creating a second line of trees right over here, and they're very close together, and that's because I am planning to keep them very small and short. I am going to try to keep my trees within 12 feet tall so that I can still go in there and harvest all the fruits by hand without having to go into too many ladders. I might need a small one, but I'll manage. On this side here, I have a peach tree, a second peach tree, an Asian pear, a regular pear, a gala apple, and a double grafted cherry tree. So I have lots of trees on this side, but I want to start my second row today, so I'm going to be putting in my trees. So let me show you what I have for that row. I have 2 hazelnut trees. This one is the Edda and this one is Yamhill. I chose these 2 because they will pollinate each other. These 2 trees right here were chosen very carefully by yours truly. I did a lot of research on these 2 because they will cross-pollinate each other, and they are also resistant to a blight that usually hits the hazelnuts around here. So I am hopeful that by choosing the right tree, I'll be able to grow a lot of hazelnuts right here in my own house. I also have this black Arkansas apple tree, and I'm going to be putting this one towards the end there because I have a gala apple back there, and I'm hoping that the 2 of them can cross-pollinate. I didn't do a whole lot of research if they can cross-pollinate, but I know that this one is self-fertile and the apple tree over there is also self-fertile. But if they do end up cross-pollinating, then it's going to be cool because I'm going to get even more apples by just having the 2 types. A fruit forest would not be complete without some chestnuts, and I want some native chestnuts. These are chinkapin chestnuts, and they are native to the Blue Ridge Mountains, specifically in Georgia, but I am putting them here in my garden in Zone 7A, Northern Virginia. I actually have one already planted over there, and originally I had purchased 2, but one of them did not make it through the winter last year. So I placed my order for a replacement one here, so I'm going to be putting this one pretty close to the one that I have originally. One of the questions that I get all the time when I am planting a fruit tree is, what do I do to amend the soil so that the tree grows healthy and strong? Well, let me tell you a little secret. I don't do a whole lot. I actually prepared this soil about 2 years ago. I turned the soil over once, and then I added a bunch of compost in here. Then I added a bunch of leaves and then some wood chips. And those create a nice little microorganism, healthy living soil that I can plant my trees into. You actually don't want to amend too much the soil where you're putting the tree into, because you want your tree to go out of that whole area and get a very healthy root system as it searches for water and nutrients far away from the original hole that it was planted in. This back here with the little red tag is my dwarf gala apple, and I'm probably about 10 feet away from it, and I'm going to be putting my black Arkansas apple right over here. To plant the tree, I'm going to dig a hole that is just as deep as these roots are right here. So I'm going to plant this tree up into the very first root. You want to make sure that the grafting zone is well above the soil level, because if you plant it below that, if you plant this below, then the rootstock is going to grow, and you don't want the rootstock. You want the grafted portion of your tree to be above the soil and producing all of the branches that will produce the select cultivar that you have purchased. So let's dig a hole. So I dug the hole. It's just deep enough to cover up the first set of roots here, and let's cover it with some dirt now. Here's the tree now, and you can see the graft unit is right here, and I am about 3-4 inches above that, and we are good to go. And this should be a beautiful tree in a few years. During the winter months, I like to cover my raised beds with a lot of leaf compost and a lot of leaf mold, because that prevents soil erosion and it helps the soil from freezing too much. And once the leaves break down, they add a lot of nutrients and minerals to the soil. I am going to be putting in my hazelnut tree right in here. It is about 7 feet away from the apple tree. And I'm gonna go down the road and another 7 feet, and I'm gonna put the other hazelnut right down there. I believe these hazelnut trees were grown from cuttings, because if you look right here, you can see a very distinct cut, and all the roots are growing around that. So I think this has been propagated from a cutting, because I do not see a little graft on here. That tells me that I'm going to be able to take a lot of cuttings from this plant right here, and if I can keep this tag, I know what cultivar it is, and I can propagate these and put them all around my yard and make even more trees of the same cultivar. Once you get into gardening, you always want to be propagating your own plants, because it's a lot cheaper if you can take a cutting from this plant and make it a second plant. This right here is the Yamhill hazelnut tree, and I'm going to try to keep it in a tree form. These can grow as bushes, so they grow a lot of suckers and they grow as bushes, but you can also train them to be trees, and I'm going to be training these as trees because they are in my orchard and I want to keep them as trees, and I want to keep it nice and clean in here. This tree has a lot more roots, so I want to spread them out as much as possible, because you don't want them to be bunched up too much. So I'm just spreading them out in the hole as I go. When you're planting your tree, make sure that it is straight up and down, and take notice where the branches are growing. So if you wanted the branches to come out this way, make sure that you rotate your tree as you're planting it so that they go in the direction that you want. I want this tree to grow along the bed here, so I've positioned the branches here to go sideways. I'm going to add the leaves back on here so that it protects the roots and that it prevents the soil from freezing too much. These trees are supposed to be able to handle this zone no problem, so I'm not too concerned about that, but it doesn't hurt to add a little protection with some mulching of leaves. This tree right here has a massive root system, and it's going to be just the same as the other ones, and I'm excited about this one because I've been meaning to get some nut trees into my yard, and these are the very first. And I'm also excited because hazelnut wood is very great for making nice little straight poles that you can use in the garden for trellising and making beautiful trellises for your peas and for some tomatoes. So I'm excited about growing nice little straight pieces of wood that I can use around the garden. Multi-purpose tree. The last thing you want to do when planting a tree is to water them. So I'm gonna go get some buckets of rainwater and dump about a 5-gallon bucket of water on each one of these. Watering your trees is very important because it helps get rid of the air pockets around the roots, and it ensures that it's locked in place. Make sure to cover the area around your tree with some mulch to prevent evaporation and to help the freezing. I am planting the last tree right over here, about 7 feet away from that last chestnut, because my chinkapin is right across from this one, and that is plenty close for them to cross-pollinate each other. And that is it, my friends. That is how easy you can plant some bareroot trees into your yard to create a food forest that would feed you for many years to come. These nut trees will take a little bit of time to produce any nuts, maybe 2 to 3 years. So in the meantime, I will grow some annuals in here like peppers and tomatoes, and as they grow, I can still get a harvest and a crop from around them. And once they take over, then this will be a full-blown canopy, and I can just grow some shade-loving plants in this little back orchard. And that is it for today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you stopping in and watching all the videos that I have been posting. I am very excited because today I've met up with my friend and we took measurements of all the windows that I have been collecting, and we're gonna plug them into a program and try to arrange them nice and neat, and hopefully we can come up with a plan for my greenhouse. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, because I have a lot more things in store for you, like building a greenhouse and putting in some subtropical trees in there and growing lemons here in Zone 7A. See you next time.